Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ashley and I'm here to talk about books. In today's video, we will be doing the Midyear Freakout Tag. It is my first year on BookTube, so this is my very first time doing this one and I'm so excited. I did get my list of questions from somebody here on YouTube. I will link her video down below, but her name is Katie. And not only does she have the standard questions that are in this tag, but she also added some questions of her own. So I thought it would be fun to also do those too. If you see me looking down, I have my laptop right here where I'm referencing like the questions and stuff just so that I don't lose track of everything. So the first question is best book you've read so far in the year of 2025. And I have read a handful. I've discovered some all-time favorites this year, but the one that I picked out to answer this question is one that's the freshest 5-star on my mind, and that is Notes on an Execution by Dania Kukafka. I was a little bit apprehensive going into this one because it is a fictional true crime story. So like it's not true crime, but it is this author's fictional version of it. I felt like this book has a lot to say on true crime and not glamorizing a serial killer, but looking at the victims in his life and the people who have been affected by the serial killer's decisions. So yeah, I really liked this book. I wouldn't say that it made me cry, but it definitely evoked a lot of emotion out of me, and I felt connected with some of the characters in this story, especially with his mom. I really loved reading from her point of view, and I feel like this would be a really good book club discussion. There's just so many conversations that can be had from this book about like the death sentence and family to people who are serial killers. And also I feel like his mom is a character that can be really, delved into because she has a lot of feelings towards how she raised her children and what role she played and didn't play in their lives. So yeah, this one was such a good book and I really loved it. Question number 2 is best sequel you've read so far in 2025. I don't really read sequels. I'm not much of a like series reader or anything like that. I do actually have a series that I'm going to be getting to here pretty soon. So I guess I'll just tell you guys those ones. I haven't read any series yet this year, now that I'm thinking about it. Like everything that I've read so far in 2025 has been a standalone. So this might be my first sequel, maybe my only sequel. In one of my vlogs that I did a library haul because I went to the library with you guys, and I picked up this cute little paperback by Karen Slaughter called Last Breath. It is so tiny and so cute. I had said that I didn't know if this was a series or not and that I wanted to look into it. So it turns out that this is part of a series. This is actually a prequel to another Karen Slaughter book, which I actually own and have not read yet, is to The Good Daughter by Karen Slaughter, obviously. And I've owned this book for quite some time, but I actually haven't read it yet. It's all dusty and it has cat hair on it because I have definitely owned this one for quite some time. So this one I will be going into blind, and I'm expecting it to be dark. I'm expecting there to be some really sensitive topics discussed in it. I also read Pretty Girls, which is the other book that I own by her. So I do have my expectations kind of within that realm. So I haven't read any series yet, but this is the one that I will be getting to relatively soon. Question number 3 is new releases that you haven't read yet, but you want to. I don't remember what the release dates are on these books, so I'll put the release dates on screen with the cover as well. There is one that I have downloaded on my Kindle already because it is the pick for this month for a book club that I do with What Michaela Reads, who is also here on YouTube, and I can link her channel below as well. Such Quiet Girls by Noelle West Ely. I hope I'm saying her name right. I have read a few books from her, one of which I really, really loved, and I think I may have given it 5 stars. So yeah, I'm definitely anticipating that one. And then a couple others that I have listed here are Julie Chan is Dead by Leanne Zhang and Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaughey. Question number 4 is most anticipated release for the second half of the year. And I do have a few books that I listed as answers to this one of which being the new Anaya Allborn, The Unseen, and then I'm really excited for The Poppy Fields by Nikki Ehrlich. I have her other book, The Measure, on my TBR for this year. I definitely would like to get to that one sometime soon, but the premise for The Poppy Fields sounds so interesting. And they're also very hyped up by Gabby Reads here on YouTube, which is someone who I trust a lot with her book opinion. And then a couple other ones would be Not Quite Dead Yet by Holly Jackson. Holly Jackson is the author for A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, that series, and I did attempt to read A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, but I didn't like it because I'm not very much a YA reader, and that is YA. So I know everybody really loved that book, and I wish I could say the same, but I really couldn't get past the YA part of it. So this is actually her first adult book, and yeah, I'm definitely gonna be picking it up. Don't hate on me for that, guys. We all have our own opinions. Another book that I'm really anticipating is Too Old for This by Samantha Downing. I have only read one book from this author, and it was My Lovely Wife, and I just remember not really liking it. But I know that one is an older release from her, so I'm willing to give her newer books a try. This is the one that's coming out this year, and then I also really want to read For Your Own Good and He Started It. Let me know what you guys think of those ones. I am curious to know if I should bump them up on my TBR. Question number 5 is biggest surprise, and I actually have 2 answers for this one. So my first answer is 0 Days by Ruth Ware. This is one of the books that I chose for my A to Z challenge because I was struggling so much with picking a Z for my challenge, and I've read Ruth Ware before. I've enjoyed her. She's one of those authors that I feel her books are good, but they're not like the most memorable books to me. So yeah, but this one I was actually so surprised that I enjoyed it. The premise talks a lot about technology, and even like the cover, there's all these little numbers and stuff. Like even the cover itself is very tech to me. And it's not that I don't enjoy like tech horror, tech thrillers, because I love the show Black Mirror a lot. It's about this married couple who are hackers. They are hired by companies to hack their systems, their cameras, whatever it is, to break into their buildings so that they can test their security. The wife is the one who actually goes in person and does all this stuff, and then her husband is at home on the computer with an earpiece in and telling her like, oh, go down this hallway, and like there's a camera here and there's a person coming up here. Not me forgetting to mention that the entire reason why this is a thriller is because she gets held up at the end of a job one night, and then she comes home to find out that her husband was murdered while she was with the police, and she ends up being considered the main suspect by the police. So the wife ends up going on the run and trying to figure out who killed her husband. So at first I was just like, this sounds very Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and I don't know if that's really my thing. It had me questioning a lot of my own security, where I was like, maybe I need to reevaluate my life, because that was a little bit scary, not gonna lie. And I ended up giving this one 3.5 stars. So that was a surprise to me, for sure. The second book that I have for this question is The First Day of Spring by Nancy Tucker. I originally got this one from the library, and this is actually a used copy that I had just purchased myself because I really want to reread it and annotate it. And I nearly DNF'd it because in this book we're following there's my receipt in the book. So we're reading from 2 different timelines. The first timeline is our main character, Chrissy, when she was 8 years old and she just committed a murder. The second perspective is her as an adult when she has like her own kid and stuff like that. I did talk about this in, I think it was my February wrap up. So I'll link that video down below, but I also do have a short of me talking about this book, so I can also put a card for that one on the screen. But yeah, this book, I so loved it. Like, I think this is one of my favorite books of all time now. I almost DNF'd it to begin with, because when we're reading from Chrissy's point of view as an 8-year-old child, it was actually really hard to kind of decipher what she was trying to say and like what was going on, because her brain is like underdeveloped because she's a very neglected child. A lot of it wasn't making sense at first, and it required some extra like thinking, and for me to say like, okay, what is it that's actually happening right now, and what is she perceiving? So that was a little bit hard at first. So it took a while for me to actually invest in this character, but I felt like the author did such a good job of making you initially just see her background and see what the situation was, and then once you start becoming invested in this character and wanting to know more, that's when it really hits you, where you're like, damn, like, this poor girl, but at the same time, she's a murderer, so it's conflicting. I loved this book. So number 6 is favorite new author, debut, or new to you. The one that comes to mind would be Mary Kubica, because I know she's not a new author. She's new to me though, kind of. I read my first book from her last year, and it was Local Woman Missing. And then at the end of last year, I read Just the Nicest Couple. Beginning of this year, I read She's Not Sorry. So far, every single thing that I've read from Mary Kubica, I've really enjoyed, and I am definitely going to be looking forward to picking up more from this author and seeing what else she's coming out with. She's gonna be one of those authors that's like on my radar when I'm at the library, when I'm out book shopping, when I'm looking at my Kindle. If I see Mary Kubica, I'm probably going to be reading it, at least for right now, until like she hasn't done me wrong. Question number 7, newest favorite character / crush. So the main one that I have picked out, which is more of like the crush sense kind of, would be Ewan, who is the love interest in 7 Year Slip. I loved Ewan. This character reminded me so much of my husband, because for one, he's a chef and he shows his love through cooking, and that's something that I can definitely appreciate because that's what my husband does. So I found that to be really cute, and it made me feel like all giddy whenever he was, you know, on page. He was so like sweet and just thoughtful towards the main character, Clementine, and he just reminded me so much of my husband. Ewan definitely, I would say, was like the closest thing to me having a crush on a character this year. Another character who comes to mind, who is not a crush whatsoever, but just a character that I really enjoyed, that I think is gonna stick with me for a long time, would be Aunt Nadine from Mary by Nat Cassidy. I did talk about this when I reviewed the book in my wrap up, and I also have a short on this one as well. But her Aunt Nadine was such a like grouchy old woman who you probably like would not enjoy spending your time around whatsoever. She is unpleasant and she is grotesque, and the way that she treated the people around her, I was like, oh my god, she is so freaking mean. But I will admit, she made me laugh out loud. Like, I was laughing so hard because I was like, oh god, here comes Aunt Nadine again, here comes Aunt Nadine. Question number 8 is a book that made you cry. And while I do really enjoy reading my sad books, I'm also not very much a crier. But I did tear up and I started crying for Wild by Cheryl Strayed. I don't know if this was circumstantial, like because I was highly emotional at that time, or what the situation was, but there was one part in the book that had to do with an animal that I was like, oh god. Like, I started getting overwhelmed and I was like, I don't know if I can read this right now. Like, it made me sad. So yeah, of course it's this woman who wrote a memoir about her life and like dealing with her mom passing and ruining her marriage and kind of like a lot of the struggles that she had there. And then she decided that she needed to do something crazy and to do something to cope with how downward her life was going. So she ended up going on a huge hike on the Pacific Crest Trail by herself without being a very experienced hiker. So she learned a lot on this hike and was just kind of left by herself in her own thoughts and going back on memories and things that have happened in her life and some choices that she's made. So yeah, this one was sad, and there was a point where I got overwhelmed enough that I started to like tear up and I had to take a break because I was at work. Like I'm not gonna cry. Question number 9 is a book that made you happy. And I don't read a lot of happy books. Like my go-to genres are thrillers and horrors. And I like really fucked up books. So most of the time they're not very happy. But I do dabble in romance a little bit. And the one romance this year that I really loved was 7 Year Slip by Ashley Poston. So that's going to be my answer for this one as well. Question number 10 is most beautiful book that you've bought this year or received. And for that one, To Be Devoured by Sarah Tantlinger. I absolutely love this cover. I'm obsessed with this freaking cover. I wish I liked the book more because the cover is so freaking good. I did really like the book, but I wish it lived up to the amount of how much I love the cover. And then a couple other physical books that I have. So this is one that I originally did get from the library, but I ended up buying my own copy of it. And that is Bloom by Delilah S. Dawson. Like the florals, it's so beautiful. And like the anatomy. Anatomy was one of my favorite subjects in high school. So like the body here. I like that the title, first of all, is raised, so it has like the texture on it, but also Bloom is in rose gold, which is so pretty. Even the inside of the book and like the book without the dust jacket on it is just gorgeous. I love that. Another one would be Mayfly by CJ Lead. It's not... I know a lot of people would look at this and wouldn't say like, oh, that's beautiful. But as a horror lover, I can really appreciate the cover on this and like the eyeball, the teeth, all of that. It looks really cool. So yeah, this is one of those books that I really am enjoying the cover on. Haven't read it yet, but I'm hoping to very soon. And also this one, which I did end up picking up exclusively because of how much I liked the way that it looked, is Horror Movie by Paul Tremblay. I've read Paul Tremblay before. He's not one of my favorite authors, but I can definitely appreciate his writing. Not only do I love the cover so much with like the VHS tape on it and everything, but it has red sprayed edges. So this is gorgeous. I'm loving this. And even if I don't like this book, I still think I'll keep it just because of the aesthetic. Question 11 is what books do you need to read by the end of the year? So I'm hoping this year I'll be able to get to listen to Barry's entire backlist. Like that's something that I've been working on, and I am picking up her books at any chance that I can because I really would like to have her backlist read. So that, but it's not like a goal that's like set in stone. Like I'm not going to be disappointed in myself if I don't read all of her books by the end of the year. It's just something that I really wanted to focus on this year. And I'm especially excited to be reading her newest release, which is 1 and 4. And then another book, which I've had, this was actually gifted to me and I've had it on my shelf for a while, but I haven't actually read it. But it's Let's Pretend This Never Happened by Jenny Lawson. After trying the first chapter on this one in my like bookshelf refresh that I did, I've decided that this is going to be bumped up on my TBR so that I can get to it very soon, because that first chapter pulled me in and intrigued me a lot. So for sure. Okay, so now we're getting into Katie's questions. So question number 1 from Katie would be, what books do you want to reread this year? Of course, The First Day of Spring by Nancy Tucker, like I already said. And then the reason that I bought Bloom was because I wanted to reread it and I wanted the trophy book. One of my all-time favorite books that I definitely want to reread this year so that I can annotate it, because I'm going to be annotating the crap out of this book, is A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. I did purchase the audiobook for this one on Audible, so I'm hoping that with me having the audiobook, that will kind of help me to want to pick this one up again sooner rather than later, because I really did love this book. But it is, not only is it a freaking honker of a book, but it also is very emotionally taxing. I'm sure if you guys watch a lot of booktube, you've probably seen how many people have done reading vlogs with this book, because it's known to make people bawl their freaking eyes out. I was extremely emotionally attached to these characters. So yeah, I understand why people cry and have so many visceral emotions about it, because it is just one of those books that has a lot of commentary and it's extremely fucking sad and traumatic. So yeah, but I like those kind of books. I don't know what to tell you guys. Those are like my favorites. This is also one of those books that I feel like the first time I read it, because there's so much going on and I was emotional as hell. I think going back from the start and rereading it after already knowing like what's happened, it's about a group of friends, and I honestly didn't focus or pick up on a lot of stuff with the other friends. So I want to go through and make sure that I'm distinguishing each character separately and seeing what else I can gather from this book, because I loved it. Okay, so question number 2 from Katie is, who is your favorite author so far this year? So 2 of my all-time favorite authors are Lucinda Berry and John Mars. All of their books are pretty much must-reads for me. So like I said earlier, I am trying to get through Lucinda Berry's backlist, and I'm hoping maybe I'll be able to do the same thing with John Mars too. But also, just as I said, Mary Kubica, I've got my eye on you, girl. I'm reading your books. Okay, question number 3 from Katie is, what books have you been putting off this year? And to that, I have 4 books selected for this answer. One of which being Bright Young Woman by Jessica Knoll. That book is one that I'm putting off for the same reasons that I was putting off Notes on an Execution. And it's just because I know that it's going to be kind of heavier true crime content, and it is not a true story, but it's loosely based on the events of the Ted Bundy cases and the women that he murdered. So I feel like it's going to be a little bit heavier than Notes on an Execution, but after reading that book, I definitely want to be picking up Bright Young Woman, because I enjoyed the way that it was written, how it was written from the perspectives of the victims and the victims' families, and that's how Bright Young Woman is. It is focused less on the serial killer and it's more focused on the victims of the killer. So that is why I want to read it. Another one, Incidents Around the House by Josh Mallerman, and the only reason why I'm putting this one off is because of mixed reviews. And then same thing with Hidden Pictures by Jason Rekulak. That one I've just been putting off because it has a lot of mixed reviews, but I am going to be reading it this month because I actually pulled it for my TBR jar prompt. So that one I have on my Kindle already, and I will be getting to it this month. Speaking of mixed reviews, question number 4 from Katie is a book you've enjoyed with mixed reviews, and that is going to be The Eyes Are the Best Part by Monica Kim. This seems like one of those books that's kind of divisive, like you either love it or you hate it. I wouldn't say that I loved this book, but I did have a really good time reading it. I rated it kind of high. I rated this book 4 stars because I did enjoy it, and it actually got, like, some of the explanations of the book had me like, ugh, you know, but I know that there's a lot of people out there who think that this book is stupid. So I guess this was kind of like a learning point for me, where even though a book has a lot of mixed reviews, and then there's people who are saying that they hated it and people who are saying that they loved it, I should still be giving it my own try, and I shouldn't let reviews from other readers always influence my decision. Question number 5, series that you want to finish before the end of the year. I kind of already went over this one with you guys. These 2 Karen Slaughter books I want to get to relatively soon. Question number 6 is 5-star predictions for the rest of the year. So Let's Pretend This Never Happened by Jenny Lawson is a 5-star prediction for me. I know that sounds really weird because I considered unhauling it in my last video, but after reading the first chapter, I actually think that this might be a 5-star. Another book that is a 5-star prediction for me is Strange Sally Diamond by Liz Nugent. I have heard that if you were a fan of For the First Day of Spring, that Strange Sally Diamond is another book that you would really enjoy. So this one has been on my TBR, but since reading this book, this one has been bumped up. Question number 7 is, do you think you'll reach your reading goal, and are you going to change it? So my reading goal for the year of 2025 is 100 books, and I have reached this goal before in the past, but this year I really think that I might be able to do it. Fingers crossed. I'm really hoping that I can. I actually did change my goal. I don't like to decrease my goal because what's the point in that? Like, I want to be able to look back and say like, oh, this year I did it, or like this year, you know, I didn't. And I feel like if I decrease my goal, I'm kind of like selling myself short a little bit. It's not like you have to read to your goal. I don't know about you guys, but for me, it's not like a solid thing. Like, I'm not going to be completely disappointed if I don't read 100 books this year. But when I had it at 80, I was going to be approaching that way too fast and way too easy. So I did increase it. But if I don't, no biggie. The last question from Katie is number 8, which is, do you have any new goals for the rest of the year? I had a goal made pretty recently that I feel like I've been doing okay at. For the most part, I read at night, like after I get off work or during my breaks and stuff. That's when I usually read. But I really would like to have my me time in the morning before I start my day. So my goal is that I'm going to be waking up earlier so that I can read before I have to start work. So yeah, there you have it. There is my mid-year freakout tag. And this was actually really fun to do. You guys know I just love talking about books. So yeah, I loved doing this tag, and I might end up making it just like a regular thing that I do every year, because why not? I will have Katie's video linked down below so that if you guys want, you can check out her video as well. If you like this video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, do all the fun YouTube things. And then of course, if you have anything that you would like to say, comment down below. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. But until next time, I will see you guys later. Bye.